The night sky over the planet Cereva looked peaceful, but nothing was peaceful anymore. Smoke rose from broken towers, and the ground shook from distant explosions. The people of Cereva were a gentle, soft species. They were farmers, artists, and healers. They had never trained for war, and they had never imagined meeting an enemy like this. For the last 10 days, their world had been under attack by strange creatures, dark, shadow-like beings that moved without sound and destroyed everything that had energy. The Ceravans called them Void Eaters. Nobody knew where they came from, and nobody knew how to stop them. Every weapon the Ceravans used simply passed through the creatures like they were made of smoke. The leader of Cereva, Elder Renar, stood inside the cracked command tower, surrounded by frightened citizens. His hands shook as he activated the old emergency beacon, a machine so ancient that it had not been used in hundreds of years. It was their final SOS, their last hope. "We must send a message," Elder Renar said, voice weak but steady, "even if no one hears it." The others looked at him with wide, hopeless eyes. "Who will hear us?" one young Ceravan asked. "Our allies are too far. No one will come." Elder Renar pressed a glowing blue stone into the console. The machine hummed. A bright beam of light shot into the sky, carrying their desperate cry for help across the stars. "Then let the universe decide," Renar whispered. The room fell silent as the screen displayed a single message. SOS sent, searching for receivers. Everyone held their breath. The screen blinked again. Signal received. Answering species detected. Earth. A wave of fear rolled through the room. "Earth," someone whispered. "The death world." Whispers spread like fire. Everyone in the galaxy knew about Earth. They were labeled a death world, a place where life evolved under extreme danger. Their animals were fierce, their storms violent, and their people unpredictable. Stories said humans could survive anything. Stories also said humans were dangerous, powerful, and not always peaceful. "Will they help us?" a young Ceravan asked, voice shaking. "Or will they finish what the Void Eater started?" Another whispered. Elder Renar tried to calm them. "We do not know, but they answered our call. That means something." Outside, the ground rumbled again, louder this time. A faint shadow slithered across the smoking rooftops. The Void Eaters were returning. "We do not have time," Renar said. "Prepare the city. If help is coming, it must come soon." The Ceravans ran through the broken streets, guiding the remaining families into underground shelters. Light crystals flickered along the paths. The city felt empty now. Burned homes, silent halls, and broken machines lay everywhere. Above the ruined towers, the sky suddenly shimmered. The ground stopped shaking. Every Ceravan looked up. A strange light appeared far beyond the clouds, growing brighter and brighter, like a second sun was rising. The warning sirens activated. Something is entering orbit. Elder Renar rushed outside with his guards. He stared at the sky, heart pounding. The shimmering light twisted, expanded, and then split into 3 separate beams. The beams stretched, shifted, and slowly transformed into shapes. 3 enormous ships broke through the clouds, metal giants shaped like nothing the Ceravans had ever seen. The ships were dark, heavy, sharp-edged, and covered in glowing lines of light. They were not beautiful. They were powerful. Each ship looked like it carried a whole army. A hush fell over the entire city. "Humans," someone whispered. The word felt heavy, like thunder. The largest ship descended lower. Its engines rumbled like the growl of a massive beast. The Ceravans watched with fear and awe, their small bodies trembling. The ships looked dangerous, but at the same time, they carried a strange kind of hope. Hope wrapped in steel. The front lights of the lead ship glowed brighter. Then a voice echoed through the air, translated into the Ceravan language by automatic systems. "Cereva Colony, this is the Earth Alliance Rescue Fleet. We received your SOS. We are here to help." Help! The Ceravans didn't speak. They couldn't. Their fear and hope were fighting inside them. Elder Renar stepped forward and raised his hands. "Earth Alliance, you heard our call. We welcome you. But we must warn you, the enemy is not like anything you know." A pause. Then the human voice replied, "We know. That's why we came." Before the Saravans could respond, the sky behind them darkened again. Shadows moved above the rooftops. The Void Eaters were returning faster than before. Loud cracks echoed through the city as buildings trembled. The humans saw it too. The voice from the ship grew sharp. All Sareva citizens moved to cover. Hostile entities detected. The human ships activated glowing shields that lit the sky in bright blue arcs. Strange mechanical wings unfolded from their sides. Engines roared. Cannons locked into position. Elder Renar whispered to himself, "So the stories were true. Deathworlders are never afraid." A shadow creature leapt onto the nearest tower, dripping darkness. The human commander spoke again. "Sareva, stay behind us. We'll handle this." And for the first time since the attacks began, the Saravans felt safe. The sky over Sareva shook with thunder as the human ships lowered through the smoke-filled clouds. Bright blue light spread across the sky from the Earth Alliance fleet, forming a protective dome over the broken city. For the frightened Saravans watching from the ground, it felt like the sky itself had grown armor. Elder Renar stood on the cracked stone platform, waiting. His hands trembled, not only from fear, but also from the strange feeling of hope that humans had brought with them. A deep metallic sound echoed across the area. Thunk, 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 as the humans' landing craft touched the ground. Dust rose around the metal ramps as they opened slowly. The Saravans held their breath. From the darkness inside, 3 tall figures stepped forward. They were humans. They wore heavy armored suits that glowed with blue lights. Their helmets were dark and shaped like hardened glass, hiding their faces. On their backs were machines that hummed softly, and on their arms were strange tools glowing with energy. To the Saravans, the humans looked like walking storms. The lead human removed his helmet. He had sharp eyes, calm and alert. His face was strong but not cruel. He looked around at the ruined city, and for a moment, he seemed to understand everything with just one glance. "My name is Commander Hale," he said, speaking clearly as the translator echoed his words in Saravan language. "We are here to help you survive." The Saravans stared at him in confusion and awe. This was their first time seeing a human with their own eyes. Stories had described humans as wild, uncontrollable, and violent, but this man looked steady, focused, controlled. Elder Renar stepped forward slowly. "We welcome you, Commander Hale, but our enemy is not normal. We fear even you cannot defeat it." Commander Hale exchanged a look with his 2 soldiers. Then he answered, "We came here knowing the threat, and we do not back away from difficult fights." This made a few Saravans whisper nervously. The humans talked as if danger was nothing new. Commander Hale turned to his soldiers. "Start the scans." The soldiers moved fast, placing strange devices around the ruined plaza. Blue lines of light shot out from the machines, forming a 3D map of the city above them. It showed destroyed homes, broken towers, and moving shadows. One of the soldiers spoke, voice tense. "Commander!" Multiple Void Eater signatures nearby. Elder Renar's eyes widened with fear. "They are close. They always come after the sun sets. They follow any energy source." Hale nodded. "Good. Then we know how to lure them." The Saravans gasped. "You want to track them?" Renar asked in disbelief. Hale replied simply, "To understand the enemy, we must face it." The Saravans had never seen such confidence. Their own weapons had failed again and again, yet these humans stood calmly as if the creatures were nothing unusual. A group of Saravan children peeked from behind a broken wall, staring at the humans with wide eyes. One girl whispered, "They look scary." Another whispered back, "But also safe." Commander Hale noticed them and gave a small nod. His expression softened for a moment. He understood fear. Then the ground shook. A loud, distant roar echoed between the ruins. Dark shadows slithered across the walls like living smoke. "They're coming!" a Saravan yelled. The humans stood still, watching the shadows with sharp eyes. Elder Renar grabbed Hale's arm. "You must run. They cannot be fought. They pass through everything." Hale didn't move. "We'll see." A black shape stretched across the plaza, forming into a tall creature made of swirling darkness. No eyes, No face, just a twisting mass of hunger. The Saravans froze in terror. The creature rushed forward, its movement like a fast wind cutting across the ground. The air temperature dropped sharply. Lights flickered. A Saravan mother screamed as a shadow lunged toward her child. But before the creature reached them, a loud blast shot across the plaza. WHOM. Commander Hale had fired his weapon. A bright blue bolt hit the Void Eater dead center. Instead of passing through harmlessly like Saravan weapons, the bolt made the shadow creature twist violently and shrink back as if in pain. The Saravans gasped. You heard it? Elder Renar whispered in disbelief. Hale didn't look away from the creature. Energy weapons don't affect it, but high-frequency plasma disruptors do. None of the Saravans understood those words. But one thing was clear. The humans had something that finally worked. The Void Eater screamed, a horrible sound that shook the air, then rushed toward Hale. It moved as fast as lightning. The Saravans cried out, but Hale stood firm. He fired again. Blue arcs of plasma whipped across the creature's body. The creature shrieked, broke into smaller shadow pieces, and scattered like dust in the wind. Silence. The Saravans stared with open mouths. For the first time, a Void Eater had been stopped. Commander Hale lowered his weapon. Now we know. They can be killed. Elder Renar stepped closer, voice trembling. You did what we thought impossible. Hale looked at the broken city around him. This is only the beginning. We need to protect your shelters, build barriers, and prepare before the main swarm arrives. The Saravans shivered at the thought of a larger swarm. Hale turned to his team. Move fast. Night isn't over. The humans sprinted into action, setting up shield generators and barriers. Their movements were quick, precise, and fearless. For the first time in many days, the Saravans felt a spark of hope. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they were not running from the darkness. They were running toward it, to be continued. The night grew colder on Sareva as Commander Hale and his 2 soldiers set up their equipment across the broken plaza. Strange machines hummed softly, glowing blue in the darkness. Elder Renar watched with confusion. The Saravans had never seen technology like this before. Machines that looked alive, tools that shine like stars. The Saravan people quietly gathered behind Renar. They were scared, but for the first time, they were also curious. They had witnessed something impossible. A Void Eater had been defeated, and the humans had done it with steady hands and calm faces. Commander Hale knelt beside a device that looked like a metal cube with spinning rings. It pushed out small waves of light, forming a dome-like shield around the plaza. What is that? Renar asked. Hale replied simply, a perimeter stabilizer. It keeps the creatures out for a while. Renar felt a small breath of relief. For a while. Hale looked up at the sky. His expression told the truth before his words did. Their swarm is big, much bigger than what you've seen. The Saravans trembled. Some held their children close. Others covered their eyes. A soldier named Juno stepped forward and activated a wrist screen. Commander, shadow signatures increasing on the east side. They're gathering. How long? Hale asked. Maybe 20 minutes. Maybe less. The Saravans panicked softly, whispering in fear. They had experienced the creature's attacks for days, but never in such large numbers. Hale stood and addressed them firmly. His voice held strength, something the Saravans desperately needed. Listen to me. You're not alone now. We will hold the line. A young Saravan named Maru stepped forward, trembling. But they are everywhere. Why would you risk your lives for us? You don't even know us. Hale looked at him directly. We don't help because we know you. We help because you asked. Something warm moved through the crowd. Simple words, but powerful. Before they could respond, a loud howl echoed across the city, long, sharp, and cold. It came from the east, exactly where Juno had detected the movement. The Void Eaters were gathering. The Saravans fell silent. Their hearts pounded. Even the air felt heavier, darker. Hale's voice sharpened. Juno Lyra positions. The 2 soldiers moved quickly, climbing onto broken structures. scanning every corner of darkness with their glowing weapons ready. Elder Renard approached Hale again. If the swarm is big, how can 3 of you stop them? Hale gave a small, confident smile. There are more than 3 of us. From the sky above, engines roared as another human ship lowered. Bright blue beams shot down, forming a landing path. More armored humans stepped out, 10 of them, carrying large crates and heavy weapons. The Saravans gasped. Hale raised a hand. This is Alpha Squad, the best team we have. One of the new soldiers, tall and broad, walked to Hale. Commander, we brought the heavy shields. And the pulse generators. Hale nodded. Good. Set them up fast. The soldiers opened the crates, revealing massive shield panels. They activated them, forming a glowing wall of energy around one section of the city. Bright sparks flew as they locked together. The Saravans stared with open mouths. So humans build light walls, a child whispered. No, his mother said softly. They build hope. But hope was challenged fast. The ground shook again, harder this time. Stones cracked. Buildings rumbled. Shadows slid across the rooftops like liquid darkness. Juno called out, Commander, visual confirmation. Everyone looked toward the eastern street. Shadows gathered, forming a long wave of black mist. As they moved closer, they twisted and lifted into tall, sharp shapes. Dozens of void eaters, their bodies flickering like flames made of darkness. The Saravan screamed and rushed behind the humans. Hale raised his hand. Hold your ground. The creatures shrieked and charged forward, faster than beasts, faster than the wind. The first creature slammed into human shield wall, boom, sending ripples through the glowing barrier. The shield held, but only barely. Another creature hit, then another. The shield sparked violently. Shields at 72%, a soldier shouted. The swarm continued to strike. More shadows poured from the streets, climbing walls, crawling like dark rivers. A massive void eater leapt from a broken tower, landing on the shield with crushing force. Shields at 48%. Elder Renard cried out, They will break through. Commander Hale didn't flinch. Then we take the fight to them. He raised his weapon and fired 3 plasma bolts. Each bolt struck a creature, exploding into bright blue sparks. The shadows shrieked and twisted in pain. The humans opened fire together, their weapons humming like roaring energy. Blue arcs lit up the night. For every shadow that lunged forward, a burst of plasma struck it down. The Saravans watched in awe. These humans fought like storms. Not chaotic, not wild, but controlled and powerful. The largest void eater roared and launched itself over the shield wall. It landed right in front of the Saravans. They screamed. Before the creature could strike, a human soldier jumped in front of them. Lyra. She fired her cannon at point-blank range. Crack, home. The creature burst into black dust. The Saravan stared at her in disbelief. She nodded gently at them. You're safe. Stay behind us. But the battle wasn't over. The shield suddenly flickered and collapsed. Commander! Shields down. A wave of shadows rushed toward them. Hale shouted, Form the line, protect the civilians. The humans moved into a tight formation, weapons glowing brighter than ever. The swarm of void eaters rushed toward them like a black storm. Elder Renard whispered, May the stars guide us. Hale whispered back, We are the stars. And the humans charged forward. The swarm of void eaters rushed forward like a living storm, a wave of darkness that swallowed everything in its path. The Saravans cried out and huddled behind the broken stone walls, their small bodies shaking. They had seen the creatures destroy whole villages. They had seen friends disappear into black smoke. And now, the largest swarm yet was coming straight toward them. But this time, the humans stood in the way. Commander Hale lifted his plasma rifle and shouted, Line formation! Do not let them cross. The human soldiers moved instantly. 10 armored warriors locked shoulder to shoulder, weapons glowing bright blue. Their armor shined under the flickering lights of the broken city. Their faces were calm, focused, almost cold. To the Saravans, it felt impossible that anyone could stand so fearlessly against such darkness. The first wave of Void Eaters slammed into the humans. Boom! Crack! Whoosh! Blue plasma bolts lit the sky as the humans fired in perfect synchronization. Every shot hit a creature. Shadow bodies twisted, shook violently, and burst into dark mist. For a moment, the Saravans dared a hope. But then the second wave came, bigger and faster. The ground split. Shadows rose from broken buildings. Dark shapes crawled up the remains of towers. Some creatures slid across the ground like rivers of night. Juno shouted, "Left flank! Incoming!" 3 huge Void Eaters leapt from a rooftop, landing directly in front of the humans. Their bodies glowed with a strange dark energy. They were bigger than any the humans had faced before. Lyra spun her cannon and fired. One creature exploded instantly, but the other 2 moved with unnatural speed. One hit a human soldier. So hard, he flew backward and crashed into a pillar. The Saravan screamed. Hale fired rapidly, pushing the creatures back. "Hold the line. Keep firing." The humans didn't retreat. They stepped forward. The Saravans watched in awe. Humans were wounded, but they fought harder, not weaker. A deep shadow formed behind the swarm, darker and heavier than all the others. The air turned cold. Even the humans felt it. "What is that?" Renar whispered. The darkness began shaping into a creature taller than all the others, its form more solid, its presence terrifying. Juno whispered, "Commander, that one looks like a leader." Hale stared at it. "Then we target it last." The huge creature let out a low, echoing roar that shook the plaza. The smaller Void Eaters responded instantly, rushing forward in a frenzy. The humans were pushed back a step. The Saravans panicked. "They are too many," a Saravan cried. Renar gripped the wall. "But the humans, they do not run." And it was true. Even as the swarm grew, the humans fought harder. They adapted, shifting positions, covering each other, firing shot after shot with deadly accuracy. But the Void Eaters kept coming. "Commander," Lyra shouted, "right side collapsing." Hale turned. 3 soldiers were getting overwhelmed. A shadow creature lunged at Lyra's back. A Saravan child screamed, "Look out!" Lyra spun just in time, firing a burst that tore the creature apart. But the swarm still pressed in. Hale clenched his teeth. They needed something stronger, something bigger. "Alpha Squad," he shouted. "Deploy the pulse generators." 2 soldiers slammed down large metal cylinders. They activated with a loud hum, bright rings of energy forming around them, pulse ready in 10 seconds. Hale fired at the creatures, pushing them back. "Make it 5. The Saravans watched with held breath as the Void Eaters crowded closer, their black bodies pushing against the humans like a flood. The giant leader creatures stepped forward. Every Saravan felt fear crush their chest. The humans stood their ground. Pulsing 3, 2, 1. Boom! A massive blast of blue energy exploded outward. The light was so bright that the Saravans covered their eyes. The shockwave hit the swarm like a hammer. Dozens of Void Eaters burst apart instantly, but the leader creature remained. It staggered but stood tall. Hale's eyes narrowed. "So you're stronger." The creature roared and launched itself at Hale with terrifying speed. "Hale!" Lyra shouted. He rolled aside, barely dodging the attack. The ground cracked where he had been standing. The Saravan screamed in terror. The leader creature turned and charged again. This time Hale didn't move back. He ran toward it. 2 completely different beings, one of shadow, one of flesh, slammed into each other with explosive force. Hale fired his plasma rifle directly into its chest. The creature shrieked but didn't fall. It struck Hale with a massive dark arm, throwing him across the plaza. He hit the ground hard. His helmet cracked. His weapon slid away. "Hale!" Juno shouted, firing at the creature. The shadow creature ignored him and rushed toward Hale to finish the kill. Saravans gasped in horror. Lyra jumped between Hale and the creature, firing nonstop. Blue sparks flashed everywhere, but the creature kept pushing forward, forcing her back step by step. Hale struggled to stand, pain in his side. "Lyra, fall back." "No," she shouted. "I'm not leaving you." The creature raised its dark arm to strike. But suddenly, a small trembling Saravan ran forward, Maru, the same young man who had asked the humans why they helped. He threw a glowing Saravan-like crystal at the creature's face. The creature howled, stumbling back. The humans fired together, striking the beast with everything they had. The creature shrieked, twisted, and finally burst into thick black mist. Silence. The Saravans could not believe it. The leader was gone. The humans stood panting, weapons hot, armor scorched. Commander Hale slowly stood and looked at Maru. "You're brave," Hale said softly. Maru shook. I didn't want you to die." Hale put a hand on his shoulder. "Then we stand together." But far away, a new echo rolled across the night. A deeper roar, a darker sound. Lyra looked up. "Commander, there are more coming." Hale stared at the sky. This was only their scout force. For a few moments, the broken city of Sareva stood in total silence. The humans and the Saravan stared at the empty space where the leader Void Eater had vanished. The creature's dark mist slowly dissolved into the cold night air. Even the wind stopped moving, as if the world was waiting to breathe again. Commander Hale wiped the cracked lens of his helmet. His body ached, but his eyes were steady. Lyra stood beside him, breathing heavily but alive. Juno scanned the area with his wrist device. Then the silence ended. A deep, distant rumble rolled across the ground like thunder underwater. The stones trembled. Dust dripped from broken archways. Renar swallowed nervously. "What is that sound?" Juno's device beeped, then beeped again, faster and faster. He looked up, eyes wide. "Commander, I'm detecting hundreds of signatures." Saravans gasped. Some held each other. Some covered their children's eyes. The fear they had tried to forget now returned stronger. Commander Hale closed his eyes for a second. He already knew the swarm was coming, and this time it was the full force. He turned to his soldiers. "Everyone, prepare. This next wave will be the real battle." The humans immediately reloaded their weapons, checked their armor, and took defensive positions across the plaza. Some dragged heavy crates forward. Others activated force field generators and placed them in a circle around the Saravans. Renar watched with shaking hands. "You continue to fight for us even now." Hale looked at him. Sareva sent a final SOS. "When Earth hears a final call, we answer." The Saravans had never heard such word before. They had never seen beings so strong, yet so willing to defend others. But hope was short-lived. A sharp scream echoed through the sky, the unmistakable cry of a Void Eater. Then another, then dozens. Shadows moved along the distant rooftops, faster than lightning. The clouds above twisted, as if something massive was approaching from outside the atmosphere. Lyra's voice trembled. "Commander, look at the sky." Hale looked up. A huge tear, like a black wound, was opening in the sky above Sareva. Darkness poured out of it. The tear widened, stretching across the night until it looked like the sky itself was bleeding shadows. Renar whispered, "What is that?" Hale answered with a low voice. "A rift. They're creating a direct path from their dimension." The Saravans froze. "What does that mean?" Maru asked, shaking. Hale didn't sugarcoat it. "It means they no longer want your energy. They want your entire world." A thick wave of darkness rushed out from the rift, dropping into the city like a giant shadow waterfall. Dozens, no, hundreds of Void Eaters raced across walls, crawling, leaping, and sliding toward the humans. The ground vibrated with every movement. The Saravans backed away in terror. Hale raised his rifle. "Stand firm," he shouted. The humans formed a wide defensive circle. Their weapons glowed bright blue. Their armor lit up with power. They didn't step back, not even an inch. The swarm hit. Boom! Crack! Roar! The humans fired nonstop. Plasma bolts exploded across the plaza. Shadows shrieked and twisted, but the swarm was too large. For every creature that fell, 10 more came. Juno shouted over the noise. "They're overwhelming the left side. Hold that flank." Hale commanded. Lyra leapt onto a broken balcony and fired at creatures climbing the walls. Her cannon glowed hot, smoke pouring from its vents. She didn't stop. Saravans watched with wide, terrified eyes. Humans were being pushed back inch by inch. Renard could see it, the line breaking. "Hail!" he shouted. "You must retreat. Save yourselves." Hail turned sharply. "We don't retreat." "But you will die," Renard cried. Hail's voice softened. "If we run, they will spread beyond Sareva, to other planets, other people. We stop them here or nowhere." The Saravans understood. This wasn't just their fight anymore. The humans were fighting for the galaxy. But even with their bravery, the creatures were too many. A huge void eater with glowing red veins smashed into human front line, throwing 2 soldiers aside. Lyra yelled, "We're losing ground." The sky rift pulsed, sending another wave. Hale looked at his soldiers. "Activate the fusion charge." Juno froze. "Commander!" "That's a last resort weapon." Renard's eyes widened. "What is a fusion charge?" Hale answered calmly. "A device that releases a massive shockwave, strong enough to wipe the city clean, including us." The Saravans gasped in horror. "You can't!" Renard cried. "You'll kill yourselves." Hale shook his head. "Not if we time it right. We activate it, retreat to the inner shield, and let the outer blast take the swarm." Juno swallowed. "It's risky." "Everything tonight is risky," Hale said. "Set it up." The humans worked fast. Juno carried a metal cylinder with glowing red rings. He placed it on the ground, typing codes as the void eaters closed in. The creatures shrieked wildly, sensing danger. One launched at Juno. A Saravan Maru stepped in front of him and smashed the creature with a crystal staff. The creature fell back, hissing. Juno stared at Maru in shock. "You saved me." Maru was shaking with fear. "We stand together, remember?" Juno nodded and activated the device. A red timer appeared above it. 0:45. Lyra shouted, "Commander, it's primed." Hale raised his arm. "Everyone fall back to the inner shield." The humans started running back, firing as they moved. The Saravans followed them, looking back at the growing swarm. The Void Eater saw the device and charged. The timer dropped. 34 seconds. 31. 29. Renard whispered, "Will we make it?" Hale replied, "We have to." But behind them, the largest shadow yet began crawling out of the rift, a monster bigger than any before. Lyra froze. "Commander, we have a new problem." Hale looked at the massive creature emerging from the sky. His face hardened. This is their true leader. The ground shook harder than before as the enormous creature crawled fully out of the rift. Its body was made of swirling black smoke, but its center had a bright, flaming red core that pulsed like a beating heart. Each pulse sent a shock wave of fear through every living being around it. Even the brave Saravans stepped back in terror. Commander Hale stared at the monster, his jaw tight. "This one is the real threat." Renard could barely speak. What do you call this thing?" Hale answered without taking his eyes away. "A devourer." The devourer opened its mouth, wide, endless, like a pit, and released a roar so powerful that the broken buildings around them cracked and collapsed. Smaller void eaters scattered, almost bowing to it. The humans continued falling back toward the inner shield, but the devourer moved faster than expected. It crawled across the rooftops, shaking them loose, leaving destruction in its path. Lyra fired at it, but a blast simply vanished into the creature's black smoke. "It absorbs energy," she yelled. Juno checked the fusion device timer. 18 seconds. "Commander, we won't reach the shield in time." Hale scanned the area quickly. The Saravans were slower, terrified, and exhausted. They would never reach safety before the explosion. Hale made a decision. "New plan," he shouted. "We need to hold the devourer here. Keep it close to the blast radius." Lyra stared at him in shock. "Commander, that means—" "I know," he cut her off. Renard felt panic rising. "No, you cannot sacrifice yourselves." Hale turned to him, calm but firm. "You call for help." Earth answered. And sometimes answering means standing our ground. But Lyra suddenly stepped forward. "No," she said. "If we're doing this. We're doing it together." The other humans nodded. They didn't back away. They tightened their grips on their weapons and faced a giant monster. Renar watched them, stunned. Never in Sarava's history had another species shown such courage, such unity. Their strength wasn't their weapons. It was their hearts. Then the devourer struck. It slammed its massive arm down, cracking the plaza in half. The shock wave launched debris into the air. Humans were thrown backwards. Lyra rolled across the ground, coughing but still alive. Smaller void eaters rushed forward to strike. Hale opened fire. Plasma blasts lit the plaza in blue light. Juno activated a shock mine, causing a wave of lightning to hit the creatures. But for every creature destroyed, many more emerged. The timer dropped. 10 seconds. 9 seconds. Juno shouted, "We can't hold it." Lyra pushed herself to her feet, her face covered in dust. "We need more power. Commander, we need to merge fire." Merge fire was a dangerous technique. 2 or more soldiers could channel their energy weapons together to create a massive amplified shot. But the strain was severe. It could break their armor or their bones. Hale didn't hesitate. "Do it." He planted his boots firmly and raised his rifle. Lyra stood beside him, placing her cannon next to his weapon. Their energy streams connected, blue and white light twisting together. Renar watched with awe. They are becoming one weapon. The light grew brighter. Juno joined them, adding his own weapon to the merge. The devourer roared and charged toward them, its burning red core glowing hotter. 6 seconds. Hale shouted, "Fire!" The combined blast shot across the plaza, a thick beam of pure energy. It slammed into the devourer's chest, exploding with a shockwave that shook the entire city. For the first time, the devourer stumbled. It roared in pain, but the blast drained the humans. Lyra dropped to a knee, breathing heavily. Juno's armor cracked across the chest. Hale fell against a broken pillar, trying to stay upright. The devourer recovered quickly and roared again, furious. For seconds, Juno screamed, "The device is going to blow." Everyone started retreating, but Renar saw something that froze his blood. The devourer wasn't falling. It was still moving, still coming straight for the humans. If it got close enough, the explosion would barely harm it. Hale realized it too. "We need one more push," he yelled. "Hold it back." Lyra looked at him, eyes full of fear. "Commander, we don't have anything left." But someone else stepped forward. Renar. He lifted his glowing crystal staff, gripping it with shaking hands. We can help." The Saravans came together. Their crystals glowed bright blue. One by one, they formed a circle, joining their energy. Their light rose into the sky. Soft, pure, ancient. Maru whispered, "For Sareva." Renar whispered, "For our protectors." The light merged with the humans' dying energy field. Hale felt it. The sudden boost. Warm, powerful, alive. He shouted, "Together." The humans and Saravans pushed the combined force forward. The devourer slammed into it, but couldn't break through. It roared, fighting with all its strength. But the timer reached 0. A blinding flash erupted from the fusion device. The world exploded. A giant wave of white and red energy ripped across the plaza. The devourer shrieked before being torn apart into 1,000 pieces. The smaller void eaters vaporized instantly. The shock wave hit the shield, but the Saravan's energy and humans' armor held. When the light faded, the rift in the sky began to close. The darkness melted away. Silence returned. Renar slowly opened his eyes. He touched his chest. He was alive. He looked around. So were the humans. Lyra was lying on the ground, breathing hard but smiling. Juno laughed weakly. "We made it somehow." Commander Hale stood with difficulty, looking at the now peaceful sky. "It's over," he said quietly. Renar stepped toward him, tears in his eyes. "You didn't just save Sareva. You saved our hope." Hale placed a hand on his shoulder. "That's what allies do." The Saravans bowed. For the first time in years, they felt the warmth of safety, and the humans, bruised, exhausted, and standing among ruins, felt something too, the feeling of victory. A victory shared. A victory earned. A victory remembered. For the first time in many days, Sareva stood silent. No screams. No explosions. No shadows crawling across the sky. Only the faint wind moved through the broken streets, carrying dust and the soft hum of the shield generators. Commander Hale stood on a cracked balcony overlooking the city. His armor was damaged, scorched in the blast, and his face showed pure exhaustion. But his eyes were calm. For now, the danger had passed. Below, Saravan healers moved through the plaza, treating the wounded humans and their own people. The giant crater left by the fusion device still smoked, glowing faintly with leftover energy. It was a scar, but a victorious scar. Lyra limped toward Hale with a datapad in her hand. "Commander, we ran scans of the atmosphere. No void signatures. Nothing trying to break through." Hale exhaled slowly. "Good. We need a long break." Juno approached next, holding his cracked helmet. "Repairs will take days. Maybe weeks. But we're alive. That's enough." Hale gave a small smile. "And Sareva still stands." They shared a quiet moment, the kind only survivors of a brutal battle could understand. But far across the sky, hidden behind clouds and dust, something else stirred. Something watching. Renard walked through the ruins of the central garden, looking at the destroyed temples and broken crystal trees. This place had once been the heart of Sareva, glowing with blue light and peace. Now it was dark, yet as he touched a fallen branch, the crystal beneath his hand flickered, weak but alive. Maybe hope could grow again. He turned when he heard footsteps. It was Commander Hale. "You should be resting," Hale said gently. Renard shook his head. "After what happened today, I do not wish to sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I still see that creature." "The Devourer?" Hale asked. Renard nodded. "Yes, and the way you stood against it. I cannot forget that either." Hale placed a hand on the alien's shoulder. "You Saravans helped us too. We didn't win alone." Renard looked up, eyes shining. "Maybe that is why the darkness hates you. Because you humans never fight for yourself alone." Hale didn't know how to respond. For the first time since the rescue mission started, he felt something warm, respect, not fear, from an alien race. But the moment was suddenly interrupted. A loud alarm echoed through the ruins. Juno's voice came through the comms. "Commander, you need to see this. Now." Hale and Renard rushed back toward the plaza. Inside the temporary command tent, Lyra stood over a hollow table. The screen displayed the rift that had opened above Sareva earlier. But there was something new, a second energy reading. Far away, far deeper. "Is it another rift?" Hale asked. Lyra shook her head. "Not exactly. It's like something was observing from the other side, and when the Devourer died, it reacted." Renard felt a cold shiver. "Meaning?" Juno zoomed in on the reading. The shape was unclear, a long silhouette, thin and sharp like a blade drifting in the dark. "It means someone or something was controlling the Devourers," Juno said quietly, "and now it knows what happened." A thick silence filled the room. Hale straightened. So the battle wasn't the end. "No," Lyra said softly. "It was only the beginning." Renard felt fear rising again. "Will they come for us?" Hale looked at the dark sky through the tent's opening. "They might, but if they do, Earth won't let you face it alone." Renard stared at him. "Why? Why do you care so much about a small world like ours?" Hale answered immediately. "Because every world matters. And because we are Deathworlders. We don't leave people behind." Renard lowered his head, deeply moved. "Then we will stand with you, too." The humans exchanged glances. A new alliance, unexpected, powerful, was forming. Hours later, night fell again across Sareva. Stars shone above, bright and peaceful. But Hale couldn't sleep. Something kept bothering him. He climbed one of the damaged towers and looked up. That's when he saw it. A faint red flicker, far beyond the atmosphere. Like an eye blinking, watching. Hale whispered to himself, "So you're still there." He tapped his comm. "Lyra, Juno, we have company." But when Lyra checked scanners, they showed Nothing. "It's gone," she said. "No readings." But Hale was certain. He had spent too many years in deep space not to trust his instincts. Something was out there. Something intelligent. Something angry. Renard couldn't sleep either. He walked outside and found Hale still watching the sky. "Is something wrong?" Renard asked softly. Hale kept staring upward. "I think the real enemy hasn't shown itself yet." Renard felt his chest tighten. "Then what do we do?" Hale turned to him, eyes steady. "We prepare. We warn Earth. We rebuild your city. And next time, we won't wait for them to come to us." Renard nodded slowly. "You speak like a leader of many worlds." Hale gave a small smile. "I'm just a soldier. But I've learned one thing. The dark always returns." Renard looked at him. "Then we will bring the light." Behind them, the broken crystal trees began to glow again, soft blue pulses spreading from branch to branch, as if the planet itself was waking up. A sign, a promise, a beginning. The humans and Saravan stood side by side, their shadows long under the moonlight. Two species, one victory, one future. But far in the silent void, the Watcher drifted back into the darkness, preparing, waiting for the next strike.